Tomi Salami stood in front of the glass skyscraper in Victoria Island, Lagos, her heart thudding like a talking drum in her chest. The Godwins Tech building towered over her, sleek and intimidating, like the man who ran it. She adjusted the only blazer she owned, borrowed from her cousin in 2 sizes too big, then took a deep breath and walked through the revolving doors. She was done with selling puff-puff on the streets of Surulere, done with being her mother's punching bag for family guilt. She wanted more. No, she deserved more. Inside, everything gleamed: marble floors, chrome railings, digital walls with shifting code, but nothing shone as brightly as the rumor of Jessy Godwins himself. Young, arrogant, brilliant, and ruthless. He had built a billion-dollar software empire from scratch, but his turnover rate for personal assistants was legendary. One had quit after just 3 hours. Another was said to have left the building in tears, barefoot. But Tomi didn't care. She had faced worse poverty, shame, a father who left, and a mother who reminded her of it every day. Jessy Godwins would have to fire her with fire itself. When she entered his office, he didn't even look up. Tall, lean, with glasses perched low on his nose, he was typing rapidly, eyes flickering with code. "You're late," he said coolly, though she wasn't. Tomi squared her shoulders and smiled. Then time must be lying. For the first time, he paused, looked up, stared at her like she was a bug, or maybe a glitch he couldn't debug. And just like that, a spark ignited, not the kind of spark that leads to love just yet, but the kind that sets everything else in motion. Tomi sat at her new desk outside Jessy Godwins' office, her fingers hovering over the keyboard like a pianist about to strike. The first few hours were a whirlwind: emails to type, calls to screen, software developers to manage, and coffee orders that had to be exactly half soy, half black, no sugar, 1 ice cube. The pressure was intense, but Tomi thrived in chaos. She refused to blink. Each time Jessy emerged from his office, a fresh storm seemed to follow him. She watched him, tall, with tightly coiled hair, and eyes like sharpened obsidian. Cold, controlled, brilliant. She learned fast. Jessy hated delays, distractions, and anything that sounded remotely like small talk. But he also hated being asked personal questions, which only made Tomi more curious. Rumors floated through the halls: how he lost his parents in a fire, how he built his first software in a refugee camp, how he once hacked the Central Bank of Nigeria just to prove he could. No one knew what was true. But one thing was certain: Jessy Godwins didn't let anyone close. Not friends, not women, especially not assistants. That afternoon, Tomi overheard a heated phone call through the office wall. Jessy's voice was low, clipped, but tense. "I don't care if they're threatening me. I'm not giving in. Let them come." She paused mid-typing, heart quickening. Threats? Enemies? She brushed it off as corporate pressure until later that night, as she waited for her boat ride home, a black SUV slowed beside her at the curb. A tinted window rolled down. A man with a scar across his jaw stared her down like he knew her name, then drove off. She didn't tell anyone. Not yet. But deep inside, something told her this job was going to be far more dangerous and far more personal than she ever imagined. Tomi arrived early the next morning, but Jessy was already in his office, shirt sleeves rolled up, jaw clenched, eyes glued to a glowing wall of code. He didn't look up when she greeted him. He rarely did. But today there was something different in the air, a tension, a glitch in his usual rhythm. As she poured his coffee, she dared to speak. "Rough night?" she asked, voice soft but deliberate. He finally looked at her. Really looked. "Do me a favor, Tomi," he said, leaning back in his chair. "Don't try to care. It's easier that way." Tomi blinked, refusing to look away. "Maybe you should try doing the opposite. Might surprise you." For a moment, he almost smiled. Almost. The day spiraled quickly into chaos. A sudden data breach sent the cybersecurity team into overdrive. Jessy moved like a machine, snapping orders, tearing through firewalls, working with a furious kind of silence that made the office hold its collective breath. Tomi stayed at her post, coordinating the legal team, calling in partners and silencing press inquiries before they caught wind of the storm. By evening, even Jessy was forced to admit out loud that she had done better than expected. That night, as she headed home, her bolt never arrived. Instead, the same black SUV pulled up again. This time it stopped. Two men stepped out, dressed in black, faces unreadable. "Tomi Salami?" one of them asked, voice as smooth as oil. "You're not safe anymore. This isn't about you, it's about your boss. But you're in it now." They didn't wait for a reply, just left her with a card bearing no name, only a red stamp in the shape of a burning computer. Tomi didn't sleep that night, and when she returned to work the next day, she didn't hesitate. She stormed into Jesse's office, slammed the card on his desk, and said, "You need to start telling me the truth, or we both go down." Jessy stared at the card Tomi dropped on his desk, his expression unreadable. The symbol, the red burning computer, wasn't just a threat. It was a signature, one he hadn't seen in 5 years. Slowly he stood, walked to the blinds, and shut them tight. When he turned back, his voice was low, rougher than usual. "Where did you get this?" "I didn't get it," Tomi snapped. "They found me. They knew my name. They knew I worked for you. They told me I'm not safe." Her voice cracked slightly, but she held her ground, arms folded, eyes blazing. "You're hiding something, and whatever it is, it's dragging me into it." Jessy sighed, and for the first time he looked tired human. "The group is called Project Null, hackers turned corporate saboteurs. I exposed them during a major acquisition, put one of their members in prison. They swore revenge. I thought they were bluffing until now." He sat down, fingers steepled beneath his chin. "You were never meant to be involved." "Well, now I am," Tomi said. "So what do we do?" A silence stretched between them, thick, electric. Then Jessy said something he had never said to any assistant before. "Pack a bag. You're not going home tonight. You'll stay in one of my safe houses. I'll have a driver take you after work." Her heart skipped, partly from fear, partly from something else entirely. "And what about you?" "I'll be nearby," he said, eyes locking onto hers. "You're not the only one they're watching now." That night, Tomi stood inside a sleek apartment with bulletproof glass and a view of the city lights. It should have felt like safety, but it didn't. Not with her heart racing every time she thought about Jessy. Not when she realized for the first time she wanted him to care that she was in danger. And maybe he already did. The safe house was quiet, too quiet. Tomi had grown used to the buzzing chaos of Lagos, the Danfo horns, the neighborhood generators, her mother's constant prayers. Now she sat on a sleek leather couch in a space that looked more like a tech billionaire's showroom than a home. The silence left room for thoughts, dangerous ones, about Jessy, about the way his eyes lingered on her today, longer than usual, about how his voice had softened just before telling her he'd be nearby. She didn't have to wonder for long. At exactly 9:47 p.m., there was a knock at the door. Jessy stood there, no security in sight, no entourage, just him in a dark hoodie, the Lagos skyline reflecting off his glasses. "I figured you wouldn't sleep." "I don't sleep either when the past comes knocking." He walked in without waiting, the smell of coffee and cold code clinging to him. "I brought food," he added, holding up 2 steaming packs of suya and chilled malt drinks like a peace offering. Tomi blinked. "You? Eat suya?" He smirked. "I may be a tech god, but I'm still Nigerian." They sat and ate by the window, Lagos lights blinking below like binary stars. Between bites, she asked, "Why do you live like this? Alone, untouchable, paranoid?" Jessy looked out the window, the city reflected in his unreadable eyes. "Because when people get close, they get hurt, or used, or worse." "But I'm already close," she whispered. He turned toward her. The air between them thickened, stretched. For a moment, he looked like he might say something real, but then his phone buzzed. One glance and his face changed. "They found us," he muttered, already on his feet. Tomi stood too, heart pounding. "What do you mean, they?" Jessy locked eyes with her. I mean, Project Null just breached the building's firewall. They're not just coming for me anymore. They're coming for you. Jesse's fingers flew across his phone screen as he pulled up real-time security footage. The breach started from the server tied to this safe house, he said, voice tight. That means they know your location. We have less than 10 minutes to get out. Tomi's stomach twisted. But how? This place was supposed to be secure. They're hackers, Tomi, and they're not playing by any rules. Within minutes, they were out the back entrance, escorted by 2 discreet guards Jessy had summoned from a nearby post. The SUV sped through the back streets of Victoria Island, weaving through traffic like it owed no one explanations. Tomi clutched the door handle, pulse racing, but her eyes never left Jessy's. Even in the chaos, he was calm, composed, focused. But when their hands brushed in the dark interior of the SUV, something cracked between them, something unspoken and intense. They arrived at a hidden villa in EPE, far from the city's noise. Jessy paced the room while Tomi sat silently, watching him unravel his precision in real time. I should have predicted this. They're escalating too fast, he muttered, then turning to her. This was never supposed to touch you. I was careless. Tomi stood, walked toward him. I'm not a mistake you need to fix, Jessy. I'm a person, and I chose to work for you. I'm choosing to stay. His jaw clenched. Even if staying means getting hurt? She didn't flinch. You're the only person who's ever made me feel seen. You think I'd run now? And then he kissed her. Slow, deep, and desperate, like a man finally letting go of the weight he's carried for too long. She melted into him, heart pounding, mind spinning. When they pulled apart, breathless, Jessy whispered against her lips, "This changes everything." Outside, the wind picked up, and in the shadows, someone watched them through a hacked surveillance feed. Tomi woke before dawn, tangled in silk sheets and the warm echo of Jessy's kiss still pulsing on her lips. For a few precious hours, the danger outside had faded, and all she saw was him, the man behind the firewalls, the genius who held the world at arm's length until he let her in. But the morning brought clarity, and with it, fear. Not of him, but of what loving him might cost. Downstairs, Jessy stood by the balcony, barefoot, laptop balanced on one hand, coffee in the other. They've gone dark, he said without turning. No pings, no hacks, no chatter. That means they're planning something big, probably physical. Tomi leaned on the doorframe, arms folded. So what now? We run forever? Hide? He turned. No, we fight back. Jessy had a plan, and it was risky. He would lure the leader of Project Null out with a fake investor meetup, leak just enough encrypted data to draw them in, then expose their entire network live in front of media and security forces. But he needed Tomi to act as the bait. You're the only one they've reached directly. If we use that to our advantage— Say less, she interrupted. I'm in. He stared at her, the cool exterior cracking. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do, she said, stepping close. Because you didn't just change my life, Jessy. You changed me. You made me brave. They stood forehead to forehead, no words left between them, until a gunshot shattered the silence. A bullet tore through the window just inches from Tomi's head. Jessy pulled her down, covering her with his body. They're here, he whispered. And this time, love wouldn't be enough. They had to fight like hell or lose everything. Chaos erupted like a Lagos thunderstorm. Jessy shoved Tomi under the solid oak table as another bullet slammed into the wall behind them. Don't move, he hissed, pulling a compact pistol from a hidden panel in the bookshelf. If anything happens, there's a panic room behind the wine rack. Code 0412. Go. No questions. Tomi's heart pounded in her throat. She had seen things in Surulere gang fights, robberies, but nothing like this. This was war, and Jessy Godwins wasn't just a tech mogul. He moved like a man who had survived battles the world never heard about. 3 men stormed the house. Jessy took down the first one with a precise shot to the leg, then disarmed the second with a brutal blow that made Tomi gasp. But the third, masked, fast, and armed with a silenced rifle, pinned Jessy to the floor with a kick to the ribs. Tomi didn't think. She grabbed a heavy glass vase and smashed it over the attacker's head. They ran out the back, into the rain-soaked garden, Jessy holding her wrists as they ducked behind hedges, guns still in hand. "You saved me," he breathed wide-eyed. "You saved me first," she replied, trembling but defiant. By the time Jessy's private security detail arrived, the attackers were gone, vanished like Lagos ghosts. But they'd left a message carved into the wall. Null lives. She dies next. Later, in the safety of a fortified apartment, Jessy cradled Tomi's bloodied hand. He looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. "You're not just brave, you're everything," he whispered. Tomi looked up at him, rain dripping from her lashes. "So what now, Jessy?" He took her face in his hands. "Now we end this, and if I lose everything, I'll fight to keep you." Using Jessy's hacker network and his inside knowledge of Project Null's tactics, they created a digital honeypot, a fake vault of prototype software with a phantom security flaw, just believable enough to lure in the group's leader codename Cypher. Tomi would attend the staged shareholder conference in a downtown Lagos tech hub, carrying a fake drive encrypted with a virus designed to reveal Cypher's real location and identity. It was bold, risky, and dangerous beyond reason. "You shouldn't be doing this," Jessy said, adjusting the discreet earpiece in her ear. He watched her from across the room, his jaw tight, his eyes burning with something that wasn't just worry, it was fear. "You're not bait. You're stronger than you think," she cut in, walking up to him in a sleek black suit that made her look like she belonged on the cover of Forbes Africa. "I'm not just doing this for you, Jessy. I'm doing this for me, for all the times I was underestimated." He pulled her close. "If anything goes wrong, I will burn the whole city to get you back." The plan launched with surgical precision. Tomi took the stage, every eye on her, including Cypher, hidden in the audience, masked by fake credentials and dark glasses. As she plugged in the drive and the virus activated, the surveillance team locked onto his signal. For a moment it was working. But Cypher saw through the ruse. Suddenly the lights cut. Gunshots rang out. Chaos exploded. Tomi was yanked backstage by Cypher's men. Her scream echoed in Jessy's earpiece. "No!" Jessy roared, ripping out the cord and charging toward the building. They had taken her, and this time they wouldn't get a chance to run. Because Jessy Godwins was coming for blood, and love had made him dangerous. Tomi's hands were bound, her face bloodied, but her eyes still burned with defiance. Cypher, slim, dark-skinned, cloaked in shadows, paced before her in a hidden warehouse outside Lekki. "You're just a PA," he sneered. "One girl. Why would Jessy Godwins destroy his empire for you?" "Because I'm not just a PA," she said through clenched teeth. "I'm his." Miles away, Jessy moved like a man possessed. With every click of his tablet, he disarmed alarms, rerouted traffic cameras, disabled drones. He wasn't just coming, he was already there. And when the final firewall cracked, revealing Tomi's location, Jessy didn't wait for backup. He walked through fire, through gunfire, through a line of Cypher's men he took down one by one like a ghost programmed for vengeance. He burst into the warehouse just as Cypher raised a knife to Tomi's throat. "Touch her and you'll beg for hell," Jessy said, voice like thunder wrapped in ice. The standoff was brief. Cypher lunged. Jessy fired. One shot clean, centered, final. Cypher fell. Tomi gasped, and Jessy was already beside her, cutting the ropes, pulling her into him like he'd just found air after drowning. "I thought I lost you," he whispered, voice cracking. "I couldn't breathe." "I knew you'd come," she said. "You always come." Later in the hospital, surrounded by flashing cameras and reporters trying to piece together a story even they couldn't believe, Jessy held her hand and didn't let go. The world now knew the truth about Project Null, about the billion-dollar sting, about the girl who risked it all. But none of that mattered when he looked into her eyes and said softly, "I'm not afraid anymore. Not of losing money, not of war, only of losing you." And Tomi, once just another girl on a Danfo bus, smiled and replied, "Then don't." I want to hear your thoughts, your theories, and if you think Jessy and Tomi's story should continue. Would you like to see what happens after the rescue? Maybe a sequel with more danger, deeper love, and new enemies? Drop your favorite moment or quote from the story in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe, follow, turn on notifications so you never miss an update.